Actually, it's Craig Williams. Rich is still licking his fingers, barbecue sauce and all that stuff. Shout out to you, Rich. Craig Williams here with Georgia Business Radio. And we have a special, this is real special because it put me on the road for 10 hours to be here for this one.
We're happy to see you.
But I'm glad to be here. We're talking to some powerful women today on how today's women balance work, family, and life. Women on the move. Women on the move. And who we have here today is Taneshia Marshall, known as TMarshal, and Marion Davis, MD. So let's give us a little teaser of what we're going to be talking about. Marion, you want to start us off? Give us a little teaser. Don't go too far, but we'll get into the meat of it. But tell us a little bit about you and what got you to this point.
Okay, great. Well, I spent almost 29 years in financial services. And last October, my company offered a voluntary retirement plan to their employees. And I jumped at the offer.
That is exciting.
I had been working, like I said, for 29 years in financial services and was really ready for a change. And so this allowed me to really step into my purpose as a personal and professional coach.
Awesome. And this is, do you work with a firm or is this your own private practice?
It's my own private practice.
That's outstanding. TMarshal, talk to me.
Yes. First of all, thanks for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you. And you came, all of you all came through the storm.
Yes.
There was a storm. Right. I guess I brought that with me, but go right ahead.
As you said, my name is Taneshia, and I do go by TMarshal. I've spent the majority of my life in personal development and self-help, and not only for myself, but also to empower others to live the lives that they truly desire to live. Mm-hmm. My career has taken me to many different places. I've done a lot of things. I'm an engineer by trade in material science. But the empowerment, the personal development had always been something that had a huge calling on my heart. So now in my latest endeavor, I've created a student retention software program that is primarily has the empowerment component, but for students. So it's to help students become self-reliant, to help them gain more confidence so that they continue on their educational journeys. And right now we market it to high schools and the higher education market.
So is this an app?
It's an actual software application. It's called THRIVEedu.
Okay.
And,
I definitely want to talk more about that. Mm-hmm. You can lead into it by telling the front story, and you started already this morning or this afternoon, and by sharing a little bit of your story of being homeless and an orphan, not an orphan, but
in foster care.
Yeah. And so, having said that, that's where the heartstrings. It's not just about the emotional, but that's where people. We do business with people we know, like, and trust, and we support those that we know, like, and trust. And if you're willing to share a little bit more about, somebody has to break the barrier of trust, and as a speaker, and that's what's inspiring about the work that you do. Tell me a little bit more about those books, the books that you've written. What's the backstory to the story that got you to the point where you captured it?
Okay. So when I started speaking, what I found is that people wanted to hear more. They wanted to learn more about my life because I was only speaking for maybe 45 to 60 minutes. And it's just so much that you can capture. And I didn't want it to be a session where, I'm going in talking to my therapist, which is the audience, and I'm just telling them everything. I wanted to give them points that they could use for their life as well. So I would just give like a little smidget of my story. Mm-hmm. And as the audience would come up to me after the presentation, they say, well, I really want to learn more. Mm-hmm. Like, you were homeless and you did this, and I just want to learn more. And I'm sure it'll help me, and it'll help somebody else I know that's gone through something, similar. And that's how the book came about. Now, the first book was very cathartic for me because I'd learned that I'd suppressed a lot of feelings and memories and things like that. So when I began to write the book, it took me 10 years to write it because it was just such an emotional process for me. And but I did it and I finished it. And the second book came about almost like a revision of the first book, or second edition of the first book. But there's so much information that I learned after the first book that I wanted to include in the second one.
Awesome.
So it still talks about my journey of how I grew up, but then the tips on how to live a better life.
Speaking of tips, obviously that's part of the services that you provide as in your coaching and your inspirational. Are you just speaking, or do you have workshops that you open up for other speakers, or you like the headliner? How does that work as far as the services that you brought?
Oh, I love it when I headline, but I don't do too many like breakout workshops anymore. I used to do those years ago, but now I do just straight presentations, and a little bit more along, I guess, the line of coaching and the workshopping would be the software program that I developed, the THRIVEedu program, because it fuses motivational information and their videos that are captured inside the software, as well as empowerment exercises. So that's something that, most people would go through if they did like an empowerment workshop.
Gotcha. Tell me the business model of THRIVEedu. Is it subscription based?
It's an annual subscription that either the colleges, universities, and even some nonprofits I'm starting to have some discussions with, because they have programs where they're wanting to track their students. So everything is annual subscription. It's minimal customer input and we've streamlined the process as much as we possibly could to make it easy for the user. It's very intuitive for the students that we're working to enhance, or we're looking to enhance, and it's also easy for the actual client that would be purchasing the software. They're being led at this point. However, how we structured it is we started off from a very basic level, and then as the student continues on in their journey, the modules grow. So they're still led, but they still have me kind of, being conversational with them.
Gotcha.
Through the video. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start, nationally, but I would love it to grow to an international level, and also have a business component that is that's also a feature that we offer. So I do see massive growth for the program. We're launching right now. So basically we're concentrating on schools and colleges and universities.
So is there a scale model where you're able to certify those who've gone through it, and then that they could duplicate what you're doing so it's not dependent completely on you?
Not just yet, but I am having some conversations like that, which can be a little overwhelming at times, because it's like, I just developed this thing, and now everybody wants to take it. And I'm
you did say you want to take over the world, so you're going to need some help.
And I will need some help when that happens. I definitely will. So I have some great people in my network that are very knowledgeable in the areas where I am not, for like a global takeover and all of that. So I'm going to lean on them.
Outstanding.
If you want to get more information about the THRIVEedu program, you can go to THRIVEedu, THRIVEedu.com, or you can tweet at THRIVEedu1.com as well.
Outstanding. Boy, I'm impressed and inspired by these women today that are balancing work, family, and life.
Yet it is a little bit dry, but it's still relatively new.
That's
excited
outstanding.
About it.
You ought to be. Georgia Panthers.
Yes.
Go Panthers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
So certainly, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I worked in financial services for 29 years. Started out in banking, and then went on to do personal financial planning, and then most recently did retirement planning for colleges and universities. In terms of advice about their life and the things that they were doing. So I always knew that was a strength of mine. And as I was approaching the 50-year mark...
Get out of here. Are you kidding me?
I'm actually 52 now, but as I was approaching the 50-year mark, I was asking myself, is this really it? I was feeling stuck in my career, really feeling like there has to be more, and how can I tap into that? So I took for me, a life transformative workshop. It was a 3-day and an evening workshop. And from that point on, I was on a mission. And so from that point, I decided to enroll in graduate school because I knew that I wanted to make a career shift. I kind of lost a little bit of my mojo and a little bit of my confidence. And so graduate school, I thought, would be a great way to regain that. Mm-hmm. And then I also, while I was in graduate school, worked with an executive coach. And as she was coaching me, I was watching her and thinking, this is really what it is that I want to do. Mm-hmm. So I ended up enrolling in the coach training program through the Coaches Training Institute, which is the largest in-person coach training program in the world. And really enjoyed that. So I was in graduate school in the coach training program, and in my mind thinking, okay, so how am I going to make this next step? And I'd mentioned, again, at the top of the show that my company offered an early retirement package to their employees. And so I was thinking to myself that I was going to leave the company in February, actually, of this year, once we got our bonuses. But the opportunity came before that. And I was thrilled. And I said, if you really want to step into what it is that you feel called and led to do, you've got to step out on faith.
Yeah. And you attract that, too. I mean, T, did you hear what I heard earlier? She said she was wondering if there was something else out there.
Absolutely.
And then she answered her question because she said, and so I tapped into it. There's always something if we tap into it.
Right.
And then you got to that other question, and it was the solution's always right there.
Absolutely.
In you. So, I mean, that's obviously you were paying attention in class.
Yes.
And you were definitely watching your mentor. So.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And really wasn't scheduling time for those things that made me smile, that spoke to me. And so that's important. So just as you would schedule a meeting, like I scheduled my time to be here today, I've got to schedule time for my exercise or for whatever it is that I need to do from self-care. And then have fun. Bring that childlike spirit back.
Or keep it.
Keep it.
Don't let it get away.
Well, rediscover it.
Yeah,
See, we forget about it a lot of times.
Awaken the child within us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us how people get in contact with you. We've got a special guest who's, behind all this, why we have this special episode, and we want to hear a little from them. But tell us how people get in touch with you.
Certainly. Email. I love email. So you can email me at Marian, and that's Marian as in Nancy. So Marian at MarianDavisCoaching.com. You can call me. My number is 770-731-6201. Again, 770-731-6201. Or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The handle's the same. It's at Marian P. Davis.
I definitely am looking forward to having you all back in the studio and possibly in a bigger way, you being the leader of some of this conversation as opposed to, and I could be on the outside listening and learning myself. But let's hear a little bit from Mr. Terry Johnson. We got Terry Johnson. We go back a little, right, Terry? Just a little, right?
Just a little. We can say high school, just a little.
Yeah, Innovative Marketing Group. Terry, tell us a little bit about how you've been able to find such caliber women and be a part of their leadership in getting them in front of what they need to be in front of.
That's a dangerous question, Terry.
That is. Well, first of all, let me say what a phenomenal conversation. These two women today have just brought so much breath and life to the show and understanding how do you balance work, life, and family and do it in a successful manner. So thank you both for being here. For me, it was just a blessing. I call them crossing paths with me and Marian. She talked about school. We are classmates and graduates of Georgia State's Executive MBA program. That's how we met, and she became my sister. And she's
from another mister. Huh?
Yeah. And we're lifelong brother and sisters.
There you go.
I used to have a group that called
Absolutely.
Charlie's Angels, and she's my lead angel.
Awesome.
Now with Taneshia, I'm sure she shared with you.
Incredible story.
Incredible story. Well, we met at the gym. She's a health nut. Just a beautiful.
You call her a nut, man?
What's up with that?
Well, when I use that word,
enjoy fitness. Though, yeah.
She enjoys fitness, but when you use the word nut in the way that you do it,
it's endearing.
It's
endearing.
I know.
Right.
I can give you what the acronym is, but I won't do that. But it's a compliment, trust me. But over the year that we got to know each other, we were training together with our trainer, and it was just
is that Andrea Riggs?
No.
Oh, you.
No, it's Carlos
okay.
Jordan.
Okay.
With Ultimate Bodies by Carlos.
I kind of was like shouting out to her because she didn't make it to the show. So shout out to you, Andrea. We'll see you next time. Go ahead.
That was nice of you. But what I was so impressed is Tanisha's beautiful spirit.
Oh, yeah.
Our conversation that we would have, it would go beyond of, I'm tired of this set. What is he doing today?
Yeah.
And we talked about our journey, what was going on.
A holistic approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we talked about business. We shared family. And, I will say both of them are not bad on the eye, so I think I'm pretty good in,
Oh, yeah.
finding beautiful women,
Oh.
as you can see.
Inside and out.
Yes.
I'll tell you that right now.
But that's how we met. But they have fed into me so much in these last year or so. So as we started this series, it was so apropos that both of them be here today and to kind of share, because when you talk about that journey, I heard you use the analogy of a seesaw. It's like running a hill. It's also getting in a boat and trying to get to the other side, but you don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that this initial show was brought to us in conjunction with the Black Women's Expo that's coming to Atlanta in October 7th and 9th. And today was a preempt of that announcement, but also my initial conversation I have got in depth that I'm hoping that these two women will serve on the panel that we're doing, the empowerment panels. But for me, I'm available to be reached via email at t.johnson at invmarketinggroup.com or directly 404-583-4041.